Come on, folks.
Second.
Pledge of Allegiance and invocation over silence is to Mike Ludwig.
I'm just going to keep this very simple tonight. I'm just going to ask for a moment of silence for a friend of mine, a neighbor who unfortunately passed away. He worked for the town of Enfield. He was a dedicated employee. And that you ask for a moment of silence for my friend Todd Remington, who passed away last week unexpectedly. Thank you. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. In the event of an emergency, our emergency exits are located to the rear of the chamber. They are also out to the door to my left, downstairs, and out to the parking lot. Kathy, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ludwig.
here.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Here.
Mr. Neville.
Here.
Mrs. Thurston. Mr. Grady.
I'm here tonight.
Mr. Frizzell.
Here.
Mr. Peabody.
Present.
Mrs. Zungire.
Here.
Chairman Serrard.
Here. Board guests, Dr. Schuman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have two board guests. They're not on your agenda, but they are here in the audience. We have our high school principal, Andy Longi, and a high school teacher and president of the ETA, Todd Kuchar. They're going to come up and talk to you a little bit about some ideas they have about the schedule at Enfield High School.
Give him one for Stacy, yeah. This is the thing I told you.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Hello. Before I get started, I just want to welcome our two new reps here today. Sierra is a senior representing us. I just want to acknowledge that. And Sarah is our junior. So, ladies, thanks for being here tonight. It's great to see you guys up there. I want to make sure I don't miss anything, so I think I'm going to just read off of what I typed up, but certainly if you have any questions, just stop me, and then Todd will speak a little bit on his perspective. So out of respect to this board, and because I know the new schedule was something that was looked at in great detail last year by the curriculum subcommittee and the board as a whole, I wanted to give you an update on where we stand on the schedule and let you know that I would like to do what I would like to do with the schedule moving forward. But first of all, history of the schedule process to kind of help you know where I'm going with this. Around 5 years ago, a committee of teachers and administrators from both Enfield High and Enrico Fermi worked together to develop a schedule for the new high school. The committee was split on the idea of running a block schedule concept. So in the end, a compromise was proposed to include both blocks and a more traditional shorter periods into the schedule. And this developed into the schedule that you're looking at right now, and I know you've seen many times before. So that's how we reached the conclusion for that schedule that we started the year with. And as a reminder, the current schedule is based on a 10-day rotation. You can see there's 10 days there. 6 of those days are the longer 81-minute periods with 4 periods each day. And then the last 4 days are the 53-minute periods with 6 periods each day, as you can see. Once the students and staff made it through the first 6 days as we started school, I think everyone realized the power that these blocks of time really possessed. And then we finished the 6 days and we immediately jumped into our 53-minute periods. And immediately I started to get a lot of students come to me and ask if we could just stay with the longer blocks. It was really that morning I started to get questions. One student on the second day even very respectfully said, "Mr. Longi, how do I start a petition?" So I could tell that there was some movement here. And personally, I believe then and really believe now that a block schedule is a better schedule for student learning. But needless to say, I was very happy when I started to hear that the vast majority of students and staff liked the block schedule once they were able to experience it. I think people had to experience it. And then after that, staff, teachers, secretaries, paraprofessionals, cafeteria staff started to come forward and asked if there was any way we could just stick with the longer blocks and keep just an A day and a B day, which you see, which is the first 2 days of the cycle, which covers all the schedule. Some of the most ardent opponents of block scheduling actually came and visited me, and these were the same teachers who really were against block scheduling and admitted that this was effective. So it came quite clear that this was something we had to consider. But to be sure, the administration put out an online survey for all staff and students to take. This survey asked if students wanted to keep the schedule or to move to an A and B schedule, which is the first 2 days of our 81-minute schedule. And for those people listening at home, Day A covers periods 1, 2, 6, Eagle Hour, and 7, and Day B covers periods 3, 4, 5, Eagle Hour, and 8. So we have all 8 periods covered over 2 days. Amazingly, over 96% of students and staff who participated in the survey stated that they wanted to move to just an A and B day. We didn't put it out to parents, but somehow parents found out. We had 120 parents partake. You could check off who you were, and we had 120 write-ins, and they were all in favor of it. It was kind of interesting. We wanted to make sure that this was really accurate, and I really wanted to look specifically at the staff. So at last Tuesday's staff meeting, we did a paper survey that we could hand count and really get some reliable data. 97% of the teachers were in favor of moving to an A and B schedule. So with that said, just so you feel comfortable with this, the advantages, I think, to making this change, and making this change now is what I'm asking for. One, we have student and teacher buy-in for this schedule. Voices have been heard by the administrative team, and I think it's important that I respect those voices. Two, block schedule has created a very calm climate at the school. Very few bells and transitions has created a very quiet day. I was shocked at how quiet the building is. I mean, we almost have 1,600 students show up at 9 o'clock. It's amazing how quiet this building is without transitions every 43 minutes. It's amazing what this done for the school. You know, Todd may speak a little bit about this as what his profession is, but it just reduces the confusion of our students and the staff, to be honest with you, trying to figure out which day we're on. Students are simply confused, and there just doesn't seem the need to cause more stress than what we're creating. Another reason that I think is valuable to look at, we have over 25 performing arts students and another 15 students who travel to Ashnuntuck to participate in the manufacturing and electrical partnership each day. So they actually leave halfway through the day. Both of these programs has our students leave early. Under the 81-minute longer block schedule, which I'm proposing, these students do not miss any class time. But under that 51-minute cycle, those 4 days, they actually missed 2 periods over a 10-day cycle. You can see they would miss period 5, which is after Eagle Hour. Then they would miss period 6. So our kids were impacted that would leave early for the Performing Arts Center and for that new partnership with Ashnuntuck, which has been going very well, by the way. 5, instructional teaching time is actually increased over the school year by just staying with the block time. It's not a massive amount. It's 3 more minutes in a 10-day cycle, but obviously, it's 54 total minutes over a year, but we're not losing instruction time. We're actually picking up instructional time. Number 6, our lunch program is a static because they can just plan on one lunchtime every day. They don't have to constantly be worried about what day it is to adjust their lunchtime. And then finally, probably the most importantly, is educationally. I just believe having more time to engage students in deep, meaningful, and active instruction and assessment is a research-based practice and proves to be the most effective schedule for our students. So with all that said, sorry, Todd, to take so much time. I'm looking for your blessings, really, to enact this change immediately. Tomorrow we have a half-day PD, and we're going to do a modified A block. It's just going to be a modified 4 periods, and then end with Eagle Hour. But on Thursday, I'd like to roll right into B Day, and then on Friday A, and we just continue and we modify the schedule. So that's why I'm here today, and I'm sure Todd wants to give his perspective as well.
First of all, I couldn't be happier with the transition to the new high school. Everything has gone smoothly. Everything from the time you enter the building through the periods to the end, it's been seamless. The block scheduling. Most teachers were a little hesitant at first because they're like, I've been teaching in 47-minute blocks. How do I teach in 81-minute blocks? So we felt at the onset that people were going to like the 6-day rotation a little bit better because it replicates what we did in the past. Talking to my colleagues, clearly that's not the case. We like the 81-minute periods better. It's not that hard to keep them actively engaged in that period as long as you do multiple things within the course of a time period, but it's actually working out very effectively. Just let me put on my other hat for a second as the union president. Chris and I and a few other people met in December of last year to discuss the high school schedule. We thought that maybe we would have to go to formal negotiations to handle this process. Obviously, that didn't happen. So we vetted the whole schedule, and there was no contractual issues with the schedule. The one issue that people kept raising over and over again was the fact that teachers are teaching 6 classes. But the contract specifically states it's a day. You don't teach more than 6 classes in a day, so that was actually not a contractual problem as well. So the whole schedule has been vetted. We like the 81-minute periods. There's no contractual issues. We actually increase a little bit of instructional time. I'm looking at it more as a 10-day cycle because that's what it was before. So instructionally, we increase 18 minutes per day, and our prep time also increases 6 minutes per day as well. The other thing is there's been some singletons, like for example, world language, in which they have many different preps because they have like Spanish all the way from 1 to 5. It was impossible with the number of staff to keep those teachers to have the 3 preps, which in the contract is not a guarantee, but if at all possible, to have teachers only have 3 preps per day. By going to this schedule, that guarantees that every single teacher at the high school will only have 3 preps per day, which is something that we haven't been able to do consistently for years. That's just because we had more classes than there were teachers. So, and as a teacher, I can tell you I'm totally in favor of the 81-minute block scheduling. I thought it was going to be difficult. The unknown was a little scary at first, but it's actually working out very well.
Mr. Ludwig and then Mr. Peabody.
Just a logistical question. So if you go to A and B, say you start Monday, so will it be, for example, if you go 5 days a week, in theory you have A 1 week, 3 B, right? So did you look if it makes sure that B block gets the same amount of time before you change the next marking period? You know what I mean? If we implement it next, I'm just from so that whatever classes fall in that B period, you know what I mean? If I'm saying it correctly?
Right, you are. Right, so they will hit, the only times we may run into issues is on snow days. So other than that, it will balance itself out.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, I'm looking to make this change for tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Okay? If we have snow days and they constantly fall on, let's say, an A day, we can adjust that after another snow day. So we have a lot of flexibility to adjust those. We have much more flexibility now than what we had in the past, dealing just with 2 days now. But we'll track that, Mike. We'll track to make sure that we're not hitting one day over another. Because
That's fine, yeah.
in 81 minutes, that's a tremendous amount of instruction
Right,
time,
right.
balanced one way or the other. That's a good question.
Just curious, do you get comments from the students, just, why they didn't like the 10-day as opposed to the 80? I mean, I understand why the teachers would like the 81. Just curious
Right.
on what some of the students would.
Todd probably has his perspective on it.
Well, first of all, I teach intellectually disabled students and emotionally disturbed students. So going to the 81-minute schedule will make it much easier for them to follow, including not only for them, but for myself as well. There's been a few times, actually one time, I sent a student away from my class, even though they were supposed to go into my class, because I thought it was a different period as well. Overwhelmingly, the students want this schedule. They really do. Without a doubt, it just makes it much easier to follow. They also really like being in the longer blocks, because what I've heard over and over again, which is kind of an odd statement, is the 6-period days seems like a much longer day. And I think it's just because you add so much involved, you have that transition. And I think most students are like, I know the classes are longer, but for me, and I'll say this personally as well, the day does go by much quicker. I think there's more time devoted to instruction, more time on task. And when you get rid of that transition, or you have the transition, it just seems to be like a much longer day for both teachers and for students.
And just, sorry, one last question, and it's just a statistical side of me. How many actually students responded to the survey?
Well, that's why we actually did a paper test, because the survey, you could take it more than once. So we have 1,600 kids, but somehow on the survey, we ended up with 2,400 kids. So so a lot of kids were voting more than once. And so
Sounds like a regular election.
right. So I think the kids were excited to get their voice heard, and I think the kids that really did not want to go to the 53 minutes were pretty vocal about it. Yep.
Oh, great, thank you. Yep.
Mr. Peabody and then Mr. Neville.
I want to say is thank you, because what I'm seeing here is what often a lot of organizations don't do. You evaluated, you listened, and you made an adjustment to improve, and that is just fantastic. It's like we're in a new era of constant looking at things, and if it makes sense to change it. If it doesn't, well, you don't, and that's kind of what we call continuous quality improvement. That's fantastic. I'm happy that the schedule was vetted. I remember it being vetted, and I'm very pleased to hear that the teachers and the students got together on this, like I was just alluding to. I will tell you this, 'cause I don't think I mentioned it to you. I had a parent come up to me. She was almost in tears because her son was able to catch up credits that he lost because of illness. So this whole schedule is really for our kids. And the fact that our teachers are into it just makes it even better.
Sure.
So appreciate it, and thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Ray. Mr. Noble.
First of all, I want to applaud you guys for doing this. This was kind of an educational leap of faith to tackle this thing and to do it hand in hand with the teachers union and you know the administration and to work your way through it. And you know, I know what an ordeal it is to work through and implement any kind of a new high school, particularly a new schedule in a high school with 1,600 kids. But the fact that, you know, when we looked at this, we thought this was going to be pretty easy. I think our conversation the other day, you guys thought it was going to be the reverse, that they'd want the right-hand side of this rather than the other. And I think just the fact that you found out that, you know, what was working, what wasn't, and you immediately came, you know, solicited the input from all constituencies and came back and said, we got to change this. That's great. And I think those are the kinds of responses we need to do. And we need to, you know, we want people to try things. But not forever. We want them to evaluate it and make a decision and say, this isn't working. Let's move on. And you guys did it. So I applaud both of you and the staffs for tackling this and the kids for getting it done. And well, I, for one, am happy to do this and get you up and running tomorrow.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Neville.
Anyone else? Dr. Schuman, just for clarification purposes, you own the schedule, right? The administration owns the schedule?
Yes.
Correct. The administration runs.
So no official board action needs to happen to make this thing happen?
No, but the reason we brought it for you here is that you've been very active and supportive of everything we've done at the new high school, and the curriculum committee obviously spent a lot of time working with the folks at the high school to work through this. The first plan that they brought, we massaged and moved around, and so we just felt out of courtesy, and because you've been so involved in the process, we wanted to come back and share with you what we found and what we'd like to do next.
Oh, very good. Without objection, is everyone in favor of this happening? Do I have consensus of the board? Dr.
Yes.
Schuman, make it so. Gentlemen, thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
coming
much.
forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Superintendent's report. Dr. Schuman.
Mr. Chairman, for the first time, we have two representatives from one high school, and Mr. Longy introduced them to you, but they're both here for you to hear their reports.
All right, we'll start with Sierra, and then we'll go to Sarah. Go ahead, Sierra.
Hello, I am Sierra. Some of the things I would like to report on of how well the combination of Enfield High and Fermi High students are going. So people thought that there would be like some, well, I don't know, like not, I don't know, they like wouldn't get along together, but it actually has been going smoothly, and I haven't personally seen anything that has been eye-catching. Also wanted to talk a little bit about some sports. Football is working hard. They're trying their best to win, even though they're in a fairly tough division. They're working. I know personally because my brother plays football. I'm also in the marching band, and we have a competition coming up in Cheshire on October 8th. And girls soccer today won against Platt 9-0. Boys won 2.
Thank you, Sierra. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I would just like to say that, as Sierra said, combining, it's a lot better than I expected. I thought it would be like really bad, like having like rivalries and stuff, but it's actually been really good. I haven't seen anything bad, and as the block schedule, it's working really well. The Eagle Hour, it's working really well because I didn't really have time after school to do things. And now that I have Eagle Hour, I'm able to do all of the things that I would want to do.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thank you, Sarah. Dr. Schuman.
A couple other items. We're going from our oldest learners to our youngest learners tomorrow night. We have the open house at Stowe. We start at 6 o'clock in the gymnasium. We have the police explorers are going to be there to help us find parking spaces for everybody, because I'm sure we're going to get a lot of folks there. We'll do about a quick half-hour introduction, a couple of speakers in the auditorium, and then we're opening up the building for tours. And it's also open house for the students in our classes, so at 6:50, our teachers will be entertaining and taking on the responsibility of sharing the curriculum and things with our parents who show up. But the building will be open for anyone that wants to come tour, and there'll be some light refreshments in the Creativity Center, which is the old multi-purpose room. So we hope you can all make it there. You've now got the invitation. You've got the Stowe Early Learning Center brochure, which will be a major part of our presentation tomorrow, talking about the collaboration between all of the entities that occupy that space. In your package also talks about our Columbus Day coming up. The school will be closed on Monday in the observance of Columbus Day. Lots of events taking place in September and October. The debate dates have been finalized. We are hosting a congressional debate during the day at 1 o'clock, and then a Meet the Candidates night, and then a local state officials debate. So all that being run either at Fermi or JFK over the next week. So if you want to come out and see that, and your grants and personnel reports are also involved there.
Thank you, Dr. Schumer. Audiences? None. Board member comments. Mr. Ledbetter.
Welcome, ladies. Great to have you on board. I'm glad everything's going well at the high school. Just real quick, I actually gone to some other sporting events as well. The girls volleyball team won a game against Buckley. I'm going to say 3-0 if I say it correctly. Have to admit I'm not a volleyball connoisseur, but they did a great job. I've seen the field hockey team. They hammered Weathersfield. Sorry, Chris, but they beat them pretty good. It was like 7 or 8-0. Yeah. So who says double L's tough? I've seen the JFK girls soccer team also has won some games, again getting close to 6-7 to nothing. So I try to, the kids are competing hard. It's great to see in all the sports, and I think like I said, I welcome aboard, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Ms. LeBlanc.
I've also attended some girls' soccer games and the football games. One thing I can say about the football team is that the score on the scoreboard does not reflect how hard those kids are working and the heart that they play with, considering what they're up against. And the coaches are absolutely phenomenal when it comes to that. SafeGrad is continuing to meet. They're getting ready for the auction November 5th, and there's a SafeGrad meeting Thursday night in room E236 at 7 o'clock. Also, I just want to make a suggestion out there because I was talking to Sierra. Can we move the band closer to the fans at the football game? Because right now, so we've been anticipating having this big band, to have. Right now, they're all the way to the far right by the away stadium seating. It would be better if they were by the home, or if we could figure something to incorporate them more into the fan section. Yeah.
It's also slightly dangerous for the band to
Yes.
be behind the
They're catching footballs.
goalpost, because we have been hit with. We've had footballs kicked into our
They have.
area. So we've only had one football game, so everything is still new, and we're trying to figure it out.
But we have
that
one
is-
Friday, yeah.
Yeah, we have one this coming Friday, and that was slightly dangerous for us. So, I know Mr. Rapucci is working hard to try and get us in the actual stands, because that's where we usually are, and that will be no danger at all. So.
But that would just be my side note, is I would love to see the band come a lot closer to us, just because we've been anticipating a band. We have 150 kids, and that's just my only statement. Other than that, I'm really happy to hear about the schedule and the block schedule changes, because I think that will make a lot of kids and parents happy. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Mr. Neville.
Just want to compliment everybody on the opening of the school. We never really know what's going to happen. We do our darndest to do the planning and have everything ready, and you try to anticipate what's going to go well, what you have to worry about. Even this schedule here, what they predicted was going to work out actually was like the reverse. But just the fact that we can get together here and solve it very, very quickly, involve all the folks involved that are affected by it and do it, is just superb. And I think that's the way we want to do business. So my compliments to everybody, from the building committee on up to you guys with the transition committee, to the committee that did all the work and stuff like that. I think we're making good progress, and I think it bodes well for the success of the school. And so I'm pleased with that. I want to ask a couple of questions I think I know the answers to, but because it's been on Facebook and stuff like that, and people have stopped us and made comments, if you could just clarify it. One has to do with uniforms. My understanding is the uniforms are in. We haven't got the spring season yet because we're not there yet. But is that correct? We're all set on the uniforms at this point?
As far as I know, all the fall uniforms are in. They were waiting on the band jackets. I believe they came in. They were due in last week. The winter uniforms are coming in bit by bit. I don't know if they've all completely arrived yet. And no, we have not begun the process for the spring yet, but the process has been, once we hire the coaches grab a couple of the student athletes, they come in and they work with our athletic director and the company we're getting them from to kind of put the special design on they want it, where they want their logo, et cetera, et cetera. And so that process will take place very soon for the spring uniforms.
Okay, my goal in asking the question is to put to rest the rumors, and I think that's one of the things that's our job. We're doing a lot of things right, and I don't want to tarnish the good things that are happening just by misinformation. So if we can do it on a public forum like this, I think it clarifies it. Secondly, it has to do with seating at the football game. My understanding, I know these guys are sitting down there and by the goalpost. Vinny has a suggestion we get a net like the Patriots have. I don't know if that's a bad idea or not, but certainly one idea. But my understanding is there aren't many visitor seats, if I'm correct.
Zero? I don't know if they put anything over there. We did ask.
That my question was, I know we're doing something about it, but if we could just. People have complained about that, and I know the size of the schools that we're dealing with. Make them stand.
They're visiting.
Well, the bleachers have a home section and an away section, like it's like separated at the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
So I think that if they were to put the band in the stands with us, like right there, they would lose a section. So I think that's what because there's so many kids in the band. But I think, so you can fit the fans okay, but the band is at the far end zone
Right.
and bleachers all their own.
I think one of the questions was
If we
were
got
looking
away-
at possibly getting some away game,
And then you could fit
seats.
the band.
And so that's why I'm
Yeah.
throwing to you, because I know you guys have been doing some talking about it.
The construction manager, Amar, has asked Dean Petroselli, who's the lead architect, to look into what it would take to get some permanent visiting side bleachers established. And our next transition meeting with them is next Tuesday. So hopefully we'll know where they are, whether if they've been able to figure it out or if they're still working on it.
Just so people know that we're acknowledging that there are some concerns and we're responding to them.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Neville. Mr. Grady?
No comments, but a question to the chairman, I guess to the superintendent. Are we ever going to have a safety committee meeting again? We haven't had one in months. I'm sure there's got to be some kind of updates on the security in the school system, so just kind of curious to see what's
I have
going on.
not heard anything from the town manager's office, but we'll put a call, and we have governance next week, so we can also bring it up then.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Mr. Cruzel?
Just a few things. I was at one of the soccer games last Friday. It was well attended, so even soccer gets the stands get full. So that was great. And Kite's having their annual meeting next Wednesday, the 5th, from 5:30 to 7, over at the Old Country Deli. You have to notify them for the reservations, of
RSVP.
RSVP, yes, that's the words I'm looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's about it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Cruzel. Mr. Peabody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a few things. One is I'd like to give a shout out to Judy Joslin. She's the coach of the boys volleyball team, and she's been recently elected to the Enfield Athletic Hall of Fame. And that's just a little organization that goes and every year gives out a few scholarships to our student athletes. They have various fundraisers to do that. Great people, run by Mike Kottner and I believe Tim Jensen. So congratulations to Judy. She's been our volleyball coach since boys volleyball coach since 1992. She has coached us to 3 state runner-ups since that time, and that's a pretty good accomplishment. Regarding Mr. Neville's comments, I'd like to echo his sentiments about congratulations on a smooth opening. There were very few hiccups. The hiccups had more to do with outside the building than inside the building. There were questions out there about Eagle Hour. There were questions out there about parking and traffic. And I thought our building committee stepped up to the plate pretty well. I think they did a great job. The communications chair stepped up, got information out there about Eagle Hour, got outside articles out there, calmed the masses down, talked about a few other issues. Randy has been doing a superb job pulling things together, and they're still addressing the traffic light issue. He has an action plan in place to get counts and get that stuff calculated out by the head traffic engineer for the state of Connecticut. So shout outs to those guys. And by the way, the committee chair is Gina Sullivan. Good job, the communications committee chair. Also, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the superintendent, I'd like to know when we'd be having an ITPC meeting. This is just to pick up on things that, a few open items that we have. We made great progress last year in transferring costs around to where they belong with the town and taking stuff away from us to do. That helped us budgetarily very well. That's all I have right now. Everybody have a great, enjoy the fall. Get to the football games, the soccer games, the volleyball games, the lacrosse game. I mean, the field hockey games. I still don't understand that game, Tina.
It's really lacrosse, right? You're right. You had it right.
Oh, okay.
Did the
Indians start that game or something?
You can't hit anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't touch anybody with a stick.
Thank you, Mr. Peabody. Ms. Ungary.
I just wanted to welcome Sierra and Sarah for taking us all on, and look forward to working with both of you. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Ungary. Echoing everybody else, welcome, guys. Thanks for showing up. You'll fit right in. Trust me, it takes a couple meetings. You're doing fine up to this point, so you'll be good. Thank you to the for everybody in the school system who's been working with us. I think I'm echoing Mr. Neville's comment. When you can solve problems together and we're working together, things get done, and I think we're moving ahead pretty quickly. An interesting side piece of news that I heard that we should all be proud of is that we have 70 new students that chose Enfield High School over other options that have come to Enfield. There's a lot of folks that weren't anticipating that, but you know, it's a good sign when people start choosing this community to live in and this community to send their kids to school. I think we're doing pretty good, and you guys all have a piece of that, and you should be proud of that. So, Mr. Neville.
Just to add another question there. I may have asked you this personally, I don't remember, but I did talk to, I think, Mr. Longy about it. We were talking about the number of students who are coming to the district, and you've made a big deal about documenting what levels they came from and so on. I think we're all curious, without creating a huge problem with collecting the data, as to where they're coming from. Are they coming back to us from the correct schools and stuff like that? Why are they coming back to us? I think that would be interesting data for us. And I think we've been working so hard as a group to put together a high school that would be inclusive and really be state-of-the-art. I'd like to know they're coming back for that, if that's the reason. So an easy way I thought of was just the guidance counselors generally register these kids. If we could put together a short form that would just collect that data, not a lot of data, but just enough data to give us some stats on that, and if we could at least do that quarterly or something like that, I think the fellow board members would like to see that data. Because I think people will want to come back here because of what we're offering. I think we're offering a darn good education and state-of-the-art that is things that just aren't available other places. Secondly, I was thrilled to hear we have 15 students going out to Asnuntic. Okay? I've sat in meetings for years where we've been trying to work out a way to get that done, and now that we've combined the high school and we have kids that are actually taking advantage of an outstanding opportunity, congratulations. All the people who worked on that, that's fantastic. So if you could do that without creating a huge amount of work for somebody, I would greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Neville, I've yielded some time to Mr. Neville. Mr. Ludwig, I'm going to yield some of my time to you.
Sorry, just 2 weeks ago we talked about at the football game, if someone who's older or is maybe disabled, they can pull up to the gate and ask, drop someone off, then ask if they have to pull up top, that someone with a cart will go get them, right? Can we just basically confirming and reminding folks to please take advantage of that? I know there was some folks who had to park up top, assuming we're going to have another hopefully packed house on Friday night against a very good team. So again, just reminding folks that that option is available. So if you do have to park up top, yeah, we do have hopefully some help to help be able to get you to the game, so you don't have to walk all the way downhill. Thank you.
So, good luck to everybody. Congratulations on hopefully we having a wonderful school year, and please go to the football games. The soccer games and all the other teams will be moving ahead. So,
Yes.
Unfinished business, the transition update, Dr. Schumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 items. The music auditorium edition is on schedule, coming along as we expected, and we will be planning a walkthrough in there in the relatively near future, next week or 2. Still a hard hat zone, but we hope to get in there. They hope to have it all buckled up and ready so they can continue to work inside once the weather turns. So they're in good shape there, as last we knew. And the second one, just to bring you up to speed on those collaborative spaces that are designed in the STEAM wing. Those spaces were designed to have certain technology in them. Originally, they were spec'd out to have the same technology we'd hoped to buy for the JFK Innovation Lab, but when we started spec'ing it out for JFK, we found that one room was going to cost over $100,000. Our Chief Education Technology Officer, Guy Barassa, came up with a solution. He did almost the exact same thing with flat screen TVs and Apple TVs and laptops, and we get the same functionality at about a third of the cost. So those spaces are all set. The tables, the furniture's been purchased, but the technology is missing. And so we're in the process now of working with the building committee to see if they're going to be getting the technology for these rooms. We estimate that to outfit all 3 of those spaces is going to be a little over $100,000. By the time you put up the 6 flat screens, buy the Apple TVs, and purchase the carts of laptops that are required for those spaces to operate. So the spaces are designed for technology, just as the JFK Innovation Lab is, but right now we're working to make sure that technology is purchased. And we hopefully that will be coming through the building committee. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you, Dr. Schumann.
Can I comment on that?
Sure, Mr. Brazil.
We did talk about that at our last meeting, and that's supposed to go through Paul Russell's. The IT department's supposed to handle purchasing that stuff.
I think he can purchase it. It's where the fund's going to come from.
Well, the funds are coming out of the building, but he has to do the purchasing.
So that's what I needed to hear. If the funds are coming from the building, I will make sure he buys them.
Yep.
Very well.
Such a deal.
Board committee reports, building committee, Mr. Kuzel.
Well, kudos to what Dr. Schumann said. I was hoping to have some pictures for you of the D-Wing, but technical difficulties with email and all that didn't get to there, so you have to listen to me talk instead of watching pictures. So
Did you delete them?
No. No, I just sent it to the wrong I sent it to the wrong person. I'm the technical difficulty. But I want to bring up something that was brought up at the council meeting, and I'm going to bring it up also because the rumors are out there. The building is 100% ADA compliant. It was mentioned why there wasn't a striker plate for a door opener. It is also, it was the committee from Sandy Hook that had security issues about automatic door openers and all that, and that's why there is no plate outside that you push that the door will open because of the security issues that came up with that committee. But other than that, we are 100% ADA compliant with handicap ramps and handicap spaces and all that. So that I wanted to, back to the Facebook thing, we want to squash that rumor. And other than that, and like Dr. Schumann said, we're all systems go. We're just plugging away, and February can't come soon enough.
Anything else, Mr. Noble?
I wasn't able to go to the last meeting.
Curriculum committee.
It's next week. We got to postpone it to next. We're having 2 in October.
Very good. Finance committee, Mr. Peabody.
Yes. Finance committee met last night, and we went over the end-of-year transfers and making sure that everything's balances out, and the funds do balance out. There will be a continued discussion between Mr. Drezick and myself. Sounds I know. I have there's some questions that we need to just get addressed, and we'll get together and address those. Also, we'll be changing our schedule to accommodate people who need to do other things. We're going to be moving them back to the Tuesday before the last Board of Ed meeting in the month. That way there, we can get here, everybody can get there, and we'll be ready to go on the next meeting in October, I believe. I do have a bunch of transfers, and I don't like reading multiple transfers, because Tina knows I have a hard time reading those transfers. So
You don't read them yet.
No, we're gonna be at
I know, guys. I'm just anxious. So I just wanted to mention that. I think the committee has done extra work this year that other committees haven't done. We've gone through the nutrition program quality issues. We've looked at, as last committee did, the Talent and Gifted grant money, and there'll be funds coming into that. I think it's $1.8 million that'll be transferred to us at last, getting yanked out of the state of Connecticut. I thought that Mr. Dresnick did a great job with our lawyer and the people from the state of Massachusetts to get those situated such that, believe it or not, we have to pay taxes. So to minimize the tax impact to the Enfield Board of Education and being able to take care of our talented and gifted students. So that was a good job, Chris. Appreciated you and Pat's work. That's it.
What information just on that report?
Very good.
How long has it been since we started to get that money? I mean, I'm going to guess 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, since.
Because it goes back to our first term, I believe, right?
We got, when I was first elected, yeah, before that, but then we made that decision when I was first elected to just say enough is enough and collect.
Yeah.
And that was my first term.
So we're getting interest out of that pays for our talented and gifted program, or partially pays for our talented and gifted program on an annual basis, right? And we're limited to how much we can take out, right?
Right.
Just no. Is there?
Can't take the whole thing out.
No, I understand, but you can take out a percentage. Is it the percentage that we make on it? Is that the only? So that you.
I don't recall that. Tina, do you recall?
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's our interest.
Yeah, it's our interest, yeah.
We only can
Has
take
been
the
funding
interest.
it,
Dr.
yeah.
Schumann, is that how? Or Chris?
Yes. The funding was designed so the program would be sustained by the interest bearing on the account.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All set, Mr.
I
Pearman?
am all set. Ready to rock.
Policy Committee, Mr. Ludwig.
We had a meeting tonight. We're kind of relooking at our busing policy. I think there's been some folks who've come before us, and of course we've gotten some emails on some specific, policies that we have. And so we had a meeting tonight. And I don't know if we want to, if we want to talk about some of the numbers, but kind of what we're follow up is we're just relooking. I think one of the concerns is for the K to 2, is a mile reasonable? For a K to 2 child, to have that distance. That's our current policy. And so if we feel that because of how the schools have been rearranged over the last few years, where again you don't have the community schooling that we used to have, where kids can get bused, across town, we're basically going to take a look at what the cost would be if we actually lowered it to a half mile, and to actually basically all K through 2 kids, and some other combinations too, just to be able to have an idea what the cost will be. So we can discuss as a committee, and then of course, if depending on how we decide to bring it to the board, we discuss the snow bus issue as well. And put it point blank, it's if we're going to do the snow bus, we have to do it for everybody, because that's the fair thing to do, and that's kind of what we talked about with the overall policy as well. And again, I know it's not the right answer for certain folks who again would like an immediate answer, but we're looking roughly about $600K if we do the snow bus for all, which, in a tight budget year or any year is a lot of money. So again, that's kind of some of the things we've talked about in policy. We are actually going to meet relatively quickly in October, or within a reasonable amount of time in October, so Chris can go back and take a look at some of the pricing on, again, looking at the distances with our policy. Someone who came today actually gave us some policies of other surrounding towns. And we thought our policy was liberal, but I guess some other towns do have a little more liberal policy than we do, especially in the K through 2, when it comes to distance. So I think, I don't want to speak for Vinny because I think he has, I'm sure he has something to say, but I think it does make sense to just at least look at it, price it out, because I think there is, with the way we've changed the schools, maybe it's time to look a little bit at least the K through 2. So Vinny, I don't want to speak for you, but
I think the reason I brought it up is just that it was brought to our attention. It's a safety factor. You have a lot of kids walking by themselves now to kindergarten classes and first and second grade that kind of want to revisit. Like I said at the last meeting I attended, we spent a lot of money on making all the schools secure, make sure once they are in school that they're secure and safe. I just want to make sure that they're safe getting to and from school. And times have changed over the years. It's not the quiet and safe society we used to, unfortunately, but I like to see our kids safe getting to and from school. So if we can look at it and change the policy or see what the cost is going to be, in my opinion, I know some people get mad at me because, oh my God, you're ready to spend money, but it's money well spent in making our kids safe. So thank you.
Mr. Neville.
There's a question. You're not, all the things that you're talking about, you're not talking about anything for this year. You're talking for next year, correct?
Realistically, it won't happen.
If
Yeah.
it
Right.
happens.
Yeah, I mean, because I think what came out of it, again, I don't speak for Walter or Vinny, but again, we're trying to be fair to everyone,
Right.
which is, so it's going to take the full, kind of analysis, I guess is the word we want to use here. And, because again, I think we've heard from different sections of town, and rightfully so, on their situation, their specific, and again, I wish we could say we could do it tomorrow. I mean, I don't want to act like we're not sensitive to that, because we are. But I think we really do need to be fair, because this affects everybody in town. And unfortunately, you're right, it's not going to be a quick decision, but it's something I think as a policy committee, we decided we really want to take a look at. We want to price it out, be able to speak to the full board, as opposed to some of the way we've done it, where we've talked about it a little bit and, what have we done in the past? We actually want to put some specifics around it so we can have, to Vinny's point, a kind of a robust debate on what is it money that we feel we need to be spending, for the safety issue. And it's something, again, if that's what we want to do, again, we'll have plenty of time to make that decision and where that money's going to come, where we don't maybe do something else.
No, I think Vinny makes a good point. I think times have changed, and I think we have to, I think vetting out this discussion would be a good thing to have, and I applaud you for it. I have some more concerns about the snow bus issue, because I was around when that thing started. So, I mean, and that's another issue. But you're looking at that younger age group, I think we should have a thorough discussion.
And I know Chris has kind of done some already legwork on that, and and Vinny and Walter kind of brought up the whole, re-looking at the policy. So I certainly don't want to act like I'm the one behind this. So again, it was kind of a joint policy decision, and Chris has done most of the legwork. Yeah, but again, it's in theory, it's going to take a little bit of time. So I know we've gotten some emails. We've certainly had some folks come before us who are very passionate about this, and as they should be. It's their children, and it's our children, but. Again, to do it the right way, we have to kind of do it do it as an overall policy, and be able to bring it to the board and price it out correctly.
Any other committees?
Sorry, the budget committee. We're working on. Tim and I are putting together kind of a sample email that we'll get to the rest of the leadership committee. That we'd like to maybe at some point send for ideas on how to again, as we talked about last meeting, to save some money, from our administrators and our teachers. Again, trying to build that culture that you've been established with the contract and other things that, again, with the things that came before. I know I don't want to put Chris on the spot, but we are actually trying to get a handle. I know last time we talked about maybe a foundation. We kind of threw it out there. But we're actually going to kind of get organized on all the things that we're currently doing. So I have to be honest, I know ignorance isn't a defense, but I don't know everything that we're currently doing when it comes to foundations, discussions with businesses, so we're trying to get that organized, understand where we're at, and then decide if we have some, weaknesses where maybe that would be a good idea. So we're trying to at least get organized first before we start going all over the place, which will take a little time.
Leadership committee met, and you'll notice that on the agenda, there's any other committees. It was felt that leadership wanted to be very clear that every committee that has a standing committee, or every member, the board that has, every committee that has a standing committee of the Board of Education will be required to make a report now, whether it's listed on the agenda or not. This is a solution that the leadership committee came up with. I'm glad to see that all of our board members are participating in that way. Hopefully we can continue. Again, all things get better, and all things need improvement, and that's one of the ways we're doing it. In the past, we thought it was understood. Now it's very specific. And with regards to just a side note to the policy committee, thank you for continuing to look into the busing situation. I know we looked into it last year and the year before that, but I think it's good that you consistently review our stuff so that we can keep the ball moving forward, especially, doing our best to communicate with the public. Any other committee reports?
facilities meeting that I don't think had a quorum, if I'm not mistaken. I couldn't make it because my wife was in the hospital, but my understanding also is that we're missing a member. Okay, we're supposed to have a member, and I think it was, I thought at first it was supposed to be the town council that was supposed to appoint it, but now I think they've thrown it back to the board, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not sure. You may know more about it than I do.
Communications I've had was we're still trying to figure that one out, to resolve to see who, if it's actually the board that appoints it, or if it's a council appointment. My understanding at this stage is it's looking like we're going to have to appoint a person from the public, but again, don't quote me on that. We're still trying to communicate and figure that one out amidst all the other communications that are going on with the function of the business. So I should have an answer for all of you probably within the next week.
Okay.
Do you want to include the temporary opening ceremonies committee as well?
Yeah.
For the report
Yes.
in that? Okay, we'll be meeting in October, so
Okay.
I'll have a report then.
When in October?
So that we're clear, every committee that is a standing subcommittee of the Board of Education is required to make a report, even if it's to say there's nothing to report.
So, Tina, I don't know if you want to talk about insurance.
When's our next meeting, October 4th?
I think so, yeah.
Our next meeting for the insurance subcommittee, it will be October 4th. At that point, we're going to be looking at what's the acronym?
The RFP.
The RFP, as far as going out and,
So I mean, it's insurance, but it's actually somewhat exciting if you enjoy insurance. Yeah.
It's fun to charter an accountant.
Define exciting.
and then we're also looking at designing a policy to help us stay on the right track when it comes to being self-insured. And we know another district that actually has a policy because the same kind of thing happened to them. And we've gotten a copy of their policy to kind of model ours after because they've been successful since.
Mr. Peabody?
Yeah, just a quick update on the JFK pre-ref committee work. We've had a number of meetings. We have the requirements that were defined by the committee. That was done. We have a RFP out to get an engineering firm to help us put it all together, to make sure we map everything that was done last year in 2015 by Strategic Building Solutions. They had a list of items, a worksheet. So we want to make sure that those items are mapped back to the actual requirements that the committee put together. So that's going to be happening over the next few days, next few weeks. We'll get that done. We did get 2 bids. Or 2 proposals, and right now the committee is putting together questions for those 2 vendors, and we'll be getting those out to them, and I'm going to look out to the audience by Friday. This coming Friday, the committee will be submitting questions to the town manager, and the town manager will forward them on to the 2 vendors, and then come October 5th, we'll have the vendors in for what I would call orals, Q&As, and each vendor will have an opportunity to give their proposals and answer questions by the committee. That's pretty much where we're at.
Was it October 5th or was it the following week? Did we give them an
It's October 5th.
October 5th? Okay. So we're sending them into Maya Matthews, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other committee reports? Sensing none. Moving on. Approval of the regular minutes, September 13th, 2016.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Cruzell, seconded by Mr. Neville. All in favor, show of hands. They're approved. Approval of accounts and payroll, Mr. Peabody.
Here we go. We have 4 months worth of motions to go through here. Let's see. On September 26, 2016, the Finance Committee met. We reviewed the financial statements for the month of May, year-to-date, and to examine various documents related to our finances. Our review concluded that there's nothing significant to report to the board. Therefore, I move to accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify the month of May. Total expenditures amount to be $6,231,047.49, broken down between payroll totaling $4,225,379.08, excuse me, and other amounts totaling $5,668.41. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approved of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Peabody, seconded.
Are we sure you read that number correctly?
Damn straight.
Show of hands.
I'm the numbers guy, remember?
Show of hands. We're good. Motion passes. Mr. Peabody.
Okay, round two. The Finance Committee met on September 26, 2016, to review financial statements for the month of June, year-to-date, and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded there's nothing significant to report to the board. Therefore, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of June, total expenditures amounting to $6,521,457.93, broken down between payroll totaling $2,667,937.28, and other accounts totaling $3,853,520.65. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Peabody, seconded by Mr. Cruzel. All in favor, show of hands. Motion passes. Mr.
Okay.
Peabody.
Now, yes, the fun continues. I move that we accept the superintendent's line item transfers requested as presented from account 100 staff salaries amount of $538,190 to professional services in the amount of $1,113,477. Line item 200 benefits, $1,010,571 from account line item 300 athletic professional services of $7,675 from line item 500 other purchase services of $20,676, 600 supplies, line item 600 supplies materials of $712,552, totaling $2,289,664 to the following areas. As I stated earlier, 300 professional services in the amount of $1,113,477. To line item 500, transportation, $948,663. To line item 700, equipment, $227,524, totaling $2,289,664.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Peabody, seconded by Mr. Cruzel.
One quick question, sorry.
No, first and second, you can ask the question.
So when we go to the budget time next year, these transfers will show up within that line item budget?
Closes up
They'll be
this year.
reflected in last year's actual numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so when
This
we
is,
go.
this is previous fiscal year line item
All right,
transfers.
all right.
Any other discussion? Show of hands. Motion passes. Mr. Peabody, you have anything else?
Oh, yeah. Okay, the Finance Committee did meet again on September 26, 2016, to review financial statements for the month of July, year-to-date, and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded there's nothing significant to report to the board. Therefore, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify in the month of July, total expenditures amounting to $1,568,820.58, broken down between payroll totaling $489,475.90 and other accounts totaling $1,079,344.68. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approved check invoices are properly documented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Peabody, seconded by Mr. Cruzel. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. Motion passes.
Okay, for the fiscal year 2000, and that concludes 2016-2015 fiscal year. To start off the 2016-2017 school year, the Finance Committee again met on September 26, 2016, to review financial statements for the month of August, year-to-date, and to examine various documents related to finances. Our review concluded there is absolutely nothing significant to report to the board. Therefore, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify in the month of August, total expenditures amount to $1,444,168.33, broken down between payroll totaling $474,960.17 and other accounts totaling $969,208.16. Again, all payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget, are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Peabody, seconded by Mr. Cruzel. Any discussion? Sensing none, show of hands. Anything else, Mr. Peabody?
Hell no.
Very good. The line item transfers are taken care of in that? Yep. All right. Correspondence and communications.
There's none.
Audiences. Anybody?
I think Mr. Peabody said everything I was going to say.
Very good, sir. We have no need for executive session.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Cruz, Mr. Ludwig, seconded by Mr. Cruzel. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.